Good evening. Number 1, factoring a trinomial with a coefficient of 1 for a. Remember, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Let's make the diamond. A is 1 and c is 10. B is 7. So our diamond is 10 and 7. What two numbers multiply to give us 10 but add to 7? 5 and 2. That pair of factors. Now, because this is a leading coefficient of 1, I could just take my factors of x plus 5 and x plus 2 and let those be my factored forms. Now to solve, I can use the zero product property. X plus 5 equal to 0 means that x equals negative 5. Or x plus 2 equals 0 means x equals negative 2. And there's my solutions. With this next trinomial with a leading coefficient of 1, I will make my diamond, and I will multiply 1 times negative 10. Negative 10 up here, negative 3 down here for the b. Two numbers that multiply to negative 10 but add to negative 3, negative 5 and 2. Negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. Negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3. Now, I'm not going to use the shortcut. I'm going to go ahead and factor by grouping just to show you that it can be done either way. X squared minus 5x plus 2x minus 10 equals 0. Copy the first term, split up this middle term with the two new coefficients, and then subtract 10 equals 0. I'll factor by grouping. The common factor here is x. I'm left with x minus 5 plus the common factor between 2x and minus 10 is 2. That's x minus 5 is left. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. That equals 0. Almost done. Taking out the greatest common binomial, x minus 5, and left here with x plus 2. That equals 0. Now by the zero product property, if this factor equals 0, then this equation will be 0. Or if this factor equals 0, then this equation will be 0. The value for x that makes this factor 0 would be 5. 5 minus 5 is 0. So x equals 5 is one solution. X plus 2, to make that factor 0, I would make x equal to negative 2. Negative 2 plus 2 equals 0. And the entire equation would be 0. I'll skip down to number 4. Again, I have a trinomial. I have a as 1, b is negative 7, c is 10. A leading coefficient of 1 makes this an easier diamond. 1 times 10 is 10, and negative 7 for b goes here. Negative 5 and negative 2, when multiplied together, give 10, and when added together, give negative 7. I'm going to take my shortcut again. My factors can be taken directly from the diamond because the leading coefficient is 1. X minus 5 is one factor. X minus 2 is the other factor. And now this polynomial has been factored. It is in factored form. I can use zero product property. When x equals 5, this factor will be 0, so the entire equation will be 0, and when x equals 2. I'll skip down to number 6. I'll make a diamond. 1 times 6 is 6, and negative 5 goes here. Negative 3 times negative 2, when multiplied together, will become a positive 6, and when added together will be negative 5. I'll do this the long way again, just to be sure that you know how to do it either way. Copy the first term, then split this minus 5x between minus 3x, minus 2x, plus 6, equal to 0. Factor by grouping. The greatest common factor here would be x. I'm left with x minus 3 here. Now I need to get an x minus 3 over here, and I have a minus right here. I will pull out a minus factor, minus 2. And what's left is x, and then negative 2 times a minus 3, and we have a matching binomial. So I pulled out a negative 2. That equals 0. Continue to factor by grouping. X minus 2 times x minus 3 equals 0. And I can use my ZPP property when x minus 2 equals 0. So we solve for x. Adding 2 to both sides gives x equals 2. The other factor is x minus 3. If that equals 0, well, when x equals 3, that factor will be 0. And there's the two solutions. Number 7 has a star by it to show that this equation can easily be fixed to look like the equations that we're used to solving. We just subtract 6 from both sides, and that will give x squared plus 5x minus 6 equals 0. And now we can solve for the values of x that make this equation 0. Making the diamond, 1 and negative 6 is negative 6, and 5 here. Two numbers that multiply to give us negative 6, but add to 5. Well, I'm thinking. 3 and 2. 6 and 1. What about positive 6 and negative 1? 6 and negative 1 multiply to negative 6. 6 plus negative 1 is 5. This factor pair will work, 6 and negative 1. Tricky. I'll factor by using the shortcut because this leading coefficient is 1. The two factors are going to be x plus 6 and x minus 1 equal to 0. The solutions are easy to see. X equals negative 6, x equals 1. Those two values will make this equation 0. The rest of these problems are again using all leading coefficients of 1 all the way down till we get to number 17. Now number 17 can be factored by using a couple of different methods, but the one we used in class was to say, let's let the b term be 0. Let's let the coefficient b be 0. So then when we make a diamond, we have 1 times negative 9 going here, and then b's coefficient, or the b coefficient, is 0. Solving for 3 and negative 3 here for our diamond. 3 plus negative 3 is 0. These two numbers will be the same, just different signs for any of these ones where we have a difference of 2 squares. Okay, I can rewrite the first term, and then the middle term, which would have been 0x, will now be rewritten as plus 3x minus 3x, using those coefficients for the middle term. And then the last term gets written here, equals 0. Factor by grouping. I can take an x, and I'm left here with x. X times x is x squared plus 3. Now I need to pull out a negative number here, because this is negative. Negative 3 times x plus 3 equals 0. Take the x plus 3 binomial out, and then left here with x minus 3 equal to 0. And our solutions are easy to see. When x and when x equals positive 3. I could have taken these terms directly, or these factors directly, as x plus 3 and x minus 3 without the grouping, as long as the leading coefficient is 1. I'll go ahead and do 19.